The 2025 draft is upon us, and that means it's time to put out final mock drafts. This is my final mock draft. I'm at ESPN Draft Nerd Jeremy Green of NFLDraft.net and ESPN Radio Asheville. We're to the Washington Commanders. A lot of new Commanders fans on this channel, and I appreciate you so much. You don't have a ton of capital, but there are some players. I love this class. I've done mock drafts with your guys. This is my mock draft of how I think the draft will go. So let's get into it. Washington Commanders at number 29, James Pearce Jr., edge rusher out of Tennessee. Look, I get there's been a lot of smoke about him and, he's a bad character guy. I don't think he is. I think he's an immature kid that was paid a lot of money at Tennessee, and maybe that brought out some cockiness. Maybe it brought out some arrogance. Maybe not everybody loved him. Watch the tape. On tape, this kid wins and wins and wins and wins. And you put him in this defense with Dan Quinn. First of all, Dan Quinn's dealt with a lot of head cases in his life. I'm just throwing that out there. Look at the draft history of the Dallas Cowboys. And, Dan never really seemed to gristle at that. Peters might, but Dan Quinn does not. James Pearce is an animal. I have him in my top 10 overall in terms of just on-field talent. You add him to what they already have, that incredibly big set of interior linemen with Kinlaw and Payne and Jerzon Newton. You're looking at a front here that could just be filthy good with Luvu and Bobby Wagner back behind it. Take some pressure off your secondary. I love the idea of adding James Pearce, and I sure as hell am not going to let him get to the Philadelphia Eagles so he can terrorize me for the next 10 years. Also, would be really curious how many of these reports on James Pearce came from zip codes from Pennsylvania. Just throwing that out there. Second pick in the second round, 61 overall, Benjamin Morrison, cornerback out of Notre Dame. This kid had top 10 tape. Top 10, top 15 tape. Then the hip injury happened. Somebody's going to have to take a risk on him. I don't know exactly who it's going to be. I love the idea of it being Washington solely because you can afford it. You need an outside corner that can push Mikey Sainristil back into the slot. You did sign Jonathan Jones, who is exclusively a slot. So I feel like the plan for 2025 feels like Sainristil is going to play on the outside and Jonathan Jones is going to play in the slot. I'm not sure that's the plan forever. So you could take your time with Morrison, ingratiate him in, specifically in dime sets where you're playing 6 in the secondary, or even just having 4 corners out there because Morrison is a very physical guy. If the hip's okay, this will be one of the best values in the class. The problem is that he has an injury history that is scary, and this is absolutely the highest that I could take him. But I think Washington has afforded themselves that luxury by taking care of their needs in free agency and through trades. So I started with James Pearce Jr., Benjamin Morrison. In terms of just sheer talent, I got 2 top 20 guys. So I'm kind of playing with house money. Take 3 more of my favorite guys with their 3 third-day picks. Start with DJ Giddens, running back out of Kansas State. I got a lot of comments on my mock draft with Craig Hoffman. I went Dylan Sampson. They thought I should go DJ Giddens. The more I thought about it, you're probably right, especially considering I did not make a trade here, wind up with extra capital. So I go DJ Giddens. The leg drive on him is insanely impressive. I think this kid can be a dog in the NFL, especially having Brian Robinson Jr., having Austin Eckler, that he doesn't have to get the full workload right off the jump. I think that's a great way to ingratiate him into the league, and I think Washington's a nice fit for him. Carson Vincent in the 3rd round, pick 138. The knock on him is that he was not great against Auburn, and he was not great against Vanderbilt. He needs to get stronger. But you've got to get him stronger and still keep the athleticism, because the athleticism is what I'm so intrigued by. I look at Brandon Coleman. I don't love him on the right side, but I think they're going to try that. So I didn't try to shoehorn a tackle in here the way I have every other time. Vincent's a guy that you're going to have to be patient with for a year or two, really bulk him up. He should never skip an arm day or a leg day for the next 2 years. And if you do that and you really commit to making this guy everything he can be, this kid can be special because the technique is good. He's just not strong enough when he comes up against higher level competition. But everything else is just crazy good. Guard out of Alabama A&M, Carson Vincent. And then finally, with their second 5th round pick, Jalen Lane, wide receiver out of Virginia Tech. I have not been as high on him over the course of the process. He, to me, is the exact opposite of Luke McCaffrey. McCaffrey's a good route runner that's just not crazy athletic, a little bit bigger bodied. Jalen Lane's a small little dude that you're going to throw screen passes to. Insane what he can do in space. Now, the thing that bothers me is, as fast as he is, why was he never able to get open downfield? Only had a handful of catches in the last year at Virginia Tech that traveled more than 20 yards in the air. That was from Dane Brugler's Beast. I did not realize that. I knew he caught a lot of screens and a lot of manufactured touches, but he's so damn good with the ball in his hand that I think it's really intriguing of what he could do in Washington with Deebo Samuel, with Terry McLaurin, all of the pieces that they have. I also didn't go tight end because people seem to forget you did draft Ben Sinnott a year ago. And I did not love Sinnott, but who knows? Maybe he does turn into the tight end of the future. Commanders fans, what do you think about this mock draft? Do you like this? How do you feel about James Pearce? Are you on my side of talent over character red flags at 29 and you just take a dog? And are you as scared as I am that you let him go to Philadelphia and then you regret that you didn't do it the way the Chicago Bears regret not taking Jalen Carter? Subscribe to the channel to see all of our content, including live from Radio Row, Day 1 and 2 of the 2025 NFL Draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Day 3 in Wisconsin, just not at the draft because Radio Row is a ghost town on Day 3. So we're going to drink some beers. We're going to grill some meats, have some fun on Day 3, a little bit more laid back, just talking about each team and each pick. Subscribe to the channel to make sure you can see all that. I am at ESPN Draft Nerd. Follow me on Twitter for all your draft grades and things like that as we go on. And this has been a 7-round mock draft for your Washington Commanders.